Darlings, in this video we are going to discuss the male reproductive organ of the flower, that is stamen. Each stamen has the two parts, one is anther and the filament. This anther is at the tip and it is a swollen region and it is a lobed structure. Attached to this anther is a long thread-like structure known as the filament. The end which is closer to anther is known as the distal end and the end which is closer to the origin is known as the proximal end. This filament is attached to the thalamus or receptacle. This anther is a bilobed structure and each lobe is connected together by a connective tissue. This connective tissue is sterile. This won't help in the reproduction. These anthers may be two types, monoecious or dioecious. Monoecious means in the anther only one lobe is present and dioecious means two lobes are present. Presence of monothecus is the characteristic feature of the family Malvaceae. This filament is attached to the different places of the anther. Based on this filament attached to the anther, there are different types of anthers. Types of anthers. First type, the basifix. In this type of anther, this filament is attached to the base of the anther. And second one is dorsifixed. In this type, this filament is attached to the dorsal side of the anther. And third one, adherent. In this type, the filament is attached to the all along the length of the anther. And fourth one, the versatile anther. In this anther, these anthers are diagonal and the filament is attached at the center of the anther. This type of versatile anthers are the characteristic features of the anemophilous flowers. Anemophilous means the flowers which are pollinated by the wind. Transfer section of the anther. This anther is a bilobed. This is one lobe and this is one lobe. In majority of cases, this anther is a bilobed, but only in the family Malvaceae there are monothecious, means only one lobe is present. In majority of cases, this anther is a bilobed, and in each lobe there are two pollen sacs are present. Therefore, totally 4 pollen sacs are present. These pollen sacs, inside these pollen sacs, the pollen grains are produced. The region from this pollen sac to the outside layer is known as the anther wall. This complete region is known as the anther wall, or this complete region is known as the anther wall. This anther wall is made up of 4 different layers, and the outermost layer is the epidermis. This epidermis is a flat cells and are single layer, and these flat cells are single layered. This epidermis helps in the production of this anther, and inner to this epidermis is the endothecium, and this endothecium is also a single layered, but the cells of this endothecium are arranged radially, and inner to this endothecium is a middle layer. This middle layer is made up of 3 to 4 layers of thin walled parenchyma cells, and both the middle layer and endothecium helps in the adhesions of the anther. And next to the middle layer is the tapetum. This tapetum cells are pyramidal in shape, and these tapetum cells are filled with thin cytoplasm and multinucleated cells. Many nucleus are present in this tapetum. This tapetum is the nutritive layer, and this helps and gives nourishment to the pollen sac. Inside these pollen sacs are present many cells which are tightly packed, known as the sporogenous cells or microsporangium. Later, these sporogenous cells becomes the pollen grain, which is the male reproductive organ. The tapetum, which is the nutritive layer, gives nourishment to these sporogenous cells. At the maturity, all these epidermis, endothecium and middle layer become fibrous, except at this point, at both the sides, except at this point. And from this point, the dehiscence of anther takes place, or dehiscence of pollen grain takes place, and this middle layer endothecium helps in dehiscence of anther. Keep on increasing this anther, the sporogenous cells which are present in this pollen sac also increases and develops a gap between these cells, and each sporogenous cells will give rise to the microspores, but all cells won't give rise to the microspores. Some will degenerate, and these degenerate cells will absorbed by this pollen sac for its development. Since these cells are giving rise to the male gamete, these cells are also known as the microspore mother cells, because these are giving rise to the male gamete. See, this is the pollen sac. Inside this is the sporogenous cells. See, this is the pollen sac. Inside this is the sporogenous cells, and which are giving rise to the male gamete. Because of that, this is also known as the microspore mother cell. Now each microspore mother cell undergoes meiotic division and forms a microspore tetraid. This microspore tetraid, all these cells are present together for some time, and later on this microspore tetraid divides. See, this is the pollen sac. Inside this is present a sporogenous cells, and each cell is capable of giving rise to the microspore, which is the male gamete. These are also known as the microspore mother cells. Now these microspore mother cells undergo meiotic division and form a four haploid cells, and these four haploid cells are together at the initial stage, and that is why these are known as the microspore tetraid. After some times, this will split and forms a four haploid microspores. This microspore tetraid may be different types in different flowers. Firstly, the tetraedral. In this type, the three nucleus are present towards one side and another nucleus is present towards another side. This type is known as the tetraedral. Second one is isobilateral. In this type, two nucleus are present upper side and two are present towards lower side. It is like a square, and this type is known as the isobilateral. Another type is linear. In this type, all the nucleus are present one below the other. And another type is F-shaped or decussata. In this type, the upper two nuclei are towards opposite to each other, and below this there is a bulge-like structures are formed. This type is known as a F-shaped or decussata.